Okay, hi, this is Renee Hobbs. Today's February 14th. That's Valentine's Day. This is COM 416, Propaganda, Spring Semester 2018. I am here with the amazing Olivia, who is the world's best student. Thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome.
Let's share the screen and kind of see what we're all about this class. This topic could be, the topic that we're focusing on this week could be a whole semester, right? Really. We could go 12 weeks just on this topic. The topic is propaganda and social media, right? Social media has really only been around for about 10 years, really. And so we're still at the very beginning of trying to understand how it works and why it works and what is it, what are its limitations, what are its unintended consequences, and how is it used for good or evil? And of course, the world is revealing a lot about that topic. It's kind of happening so fast, it's hard to keep up. One of the hardest and most wonderful things about being a media researcher is we're pushed by reality always to be always in the present, right? It's very hard to look historically in our field because things are changing so fast. We always are very present oriented or even future oriented, which is partly why the field is so much fun, partly why I never teach the same class twice, but partly what makes it challenging as well. So, all right, let's see who's joining us. Hey, Matthew, how are you? Thanks for joining us today. So it's Matthew, it's Olivia, and me, and here's what we're going to try to accomplish in the next 45 or 50 minutes. First, I want to make some reflections on what you're learning and how you're demonstrating your learning to me. That's going to be important. We are going to tackle that question for discussion: what specific features of social media make it a powerful tool for propaganda? We're learning a lot about that from our friend Ryan Holiday. And then I really want to talk about Leap 2 because this is a perfect time for you to get ready to start working on Leap 2. So we'll take a close look at Leap 2, answer all your questions about that. And in this case, Olivia and Matthew, you play a really important role in this little dialogue because for the other 24 students who are watching the recording, you're kind of standing in for them. So I'd be really grateful if you can ask the craziest questions and trying to anticipate what kinds of questions students might have about Leap 2. Each of these leaps gets harder and harder, right? Your first one was due today, and why don't we talk a little bit about that? Leap 1, propaganda in your life, where I asked you to find examples of contemporary propaganda in news and public relations, in advertising, in government, in education, in entertainment, and in advocacy. Love to hear from you about what did you love and hate about the Leap 1 assignment. Who wants to go first?
So what do you want?
Go for it, Olivia.
I haven't finished the project, as you know, but I did pick out some examples of for advertising, entertainment, government, news, advocacy, and education. And just an example for advertising, I was on the highway going into Providence and I saw a billboard it was a drunk driving billboard. And it stated drunk drive and it's always your fault. And it was like a somber atmosphere. And it looked like a woman mourning a grave.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Powerful. So that would be kind of beneficial propaganda in the sense that it's kind of using fear or strong emotions to kind of discourage people from that behavior. That's cool. So Matthew, tell us about your experience with Leap One. What'd you love and hate about having to reflect on propaganda in your life?
I like the project a lot. I thought it was like really cool that it's like personalized to your life. I thought it was going to be like a lot easier than what it seems like, but I don't think it was that easy because like you actually have to like critically think about like different types of propaganda in your life. And although like you can say that it's all around us, it's hard to like really like pick it out. But like one of the things that like I picked out was like the Sarah McLachlan. I don't know if you read my thing yet, but Sarah McLachlan's like one of like the propaganda that I picked out, and it was because like Barnes also talks about like the way propaganda is like dramatized, and in her commercial she dramatizes animal cruelty by playing the song Angels, and anytime you hear "In the Arms of an Angel," like you know exactly what's coming up, and then like there's pictures of like dogs like who are sad and like they don't have like eyes or something like that. So
I am so glad that you have focused on that form of propaganda, because I actually feel like it gets burned in your brain, right? Right? It's very sticky and it's really memorable. So, and people have a strong attitudes about propaganda, right? But I think you nailed it around what makes the leap one assignment kind of challenging, which is, and you said it really beautifully, you know, we say propaganda is everywhere, but boy, to go through your life and find it on your Facebook feed, driving into Providence, right? As you're watching TV, when you're surfing on YouTube, and all of the rest of daily life, then that requires a little bit more effort, and it's actually kind of challenging. So looking forward to reading those Leap 2s. You can pretty much expect that you'll get your grade back for the Leap 2 probably in a week, right? So by the 21st or so, and of course you receive Leap feedback in a personal email. It'll say Leap 1 evaluation. It'll have some comments and some feedback, and then the grade. So you should expect that, about a week from today. I believe that you all have received your grades for quiz 1. Give me a thumbs up if you have received your grades for quiz 1. That's good. So everybody should have received the grade for quiz 1. Okay, so wow, I'm really pleased to see how you've been doing with the tweets. People are tweeting as we speak here. Not happy about this idea that you're tweeting but not in class. Just want to say that, Richard, Monica, that's not good, right? So come to class, because like God knows, I crave human contact, right? It's lonely teaching online. Thank God for Matthew and Olivia. I'd be terribly lonely here. But one of the things that is kind of cool is that you are, of course, you're required to post your Leap 1 assignment, and that's awesome. But you're also tweeting a little bit about Ryan Holiday, right? And that is a good thing. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you was do take the opportunity to check out this really emotional piece of propaganda. I write in my tweet, yes, I cried when I saw, it's called Atlanta Speech School. When I saw their positive propaganda showing how learners are affected by language. My job, empower learners to become who they are meant to be. This piece of propaganda changes the way you think about school, right? And makes you think about times in your own school life when other people's language had an impact on you. And of course, as a teacher myself, it made me think a lot about that. So I thought this was really positive propaganda, but it's like, it's got little kids, it's got drama, it's got good news, it's got bad news. It's just, it's got bad guys. It's really a strong propaganda. So I was really pleased with these tweets. In general, I feel like you are kind of getting the point about how we create a learning community. Like, for instance, Brittany, really super quote here, right? Ryan Holiday's anxieties about social media are not too different from that of many of us, right? Which is, in what ways does our connection to our devices really interfere with our, in this case, he says, our compassion? One of the reasons why I'm interested in that particular quote, and Brittany, you get the tweet of the week score, is because I'm now reading Ryan Holiday's new book called The Obstacle is the Way. I just like his writing style. I don't know if you guys did or not, but I kind of do. And the topic of this new book is very relevant to me. It's called The Timeless Art of Turning Trials into Triumph. And so basically it is a kind of piece of, it's an advice book, but I think we can clearly see that Ryan Holiday, got into some deep doo-doo for his some of his career choices, right? And in the second half of the book, which we're reading this coming up week, we're going to kind of see that, right? The first half of the book, oh, he's so cool. He shows you all the techniques. Whoa, whoa, whoa. He's so hot, right? Second half of the book, we see what happened, the consequences, and some of the career implications that actually happened to him as a result of some of his propaganda. And he writes with great humility. And he writes actually the book to try to figure out what went wrong. So I think you're really going to enjoy reading part 2 of the book if you liked part 1 at all. So that being said, I'm excited to hear what you're thinking about that. Let's take a look at how you address the Ryan Holiday topic on the Path Right, because I did see people asking and answering lots of good questions about that. In fact, I thought we could kind of talk about come on, slow. What your favorite question was from the questions that were on the guiding question sheet. The propaganda and social media, that's week 4. Trust me, I'm lying, part 1, right? So I provided a roadmap to ease you in to the first half of the book. I'm not going to do this for the second half of the book. You're going to have to figure that out yourself, right? But there's a lot of really interesting questions. I guess maybe the question I was most fascinated with was, what was the most shocking story of the book in part 1? Will you be able to use any of the ideas you learned so far from Ryan Holiday in your career? And why does Holiday think that controversial content is more valuable than important content? So why don't we start with those 3 questions, Matthew and Olivia. Of those questions, how would you react to them? How did you react to them? What do you have to say about those 3 questions?
I actually didn't get much time to read it. I'm still in the process of trying to complete the homework, so I feel like I can't really.
Oh darn! Too bad.
Participate. I'm sorry.
Well, thanks for letting me know. No problem. Olivia. Olivia may be also in the same situation, huh? Is that true? Yeah, maybe. Okay. Oh, I can't hear you, sweetie.
I finished the homework. I just didn't finish the reading. I didn't get through the whole.
Well, there you go. So you had to prioritize. You're going to really, really enjoy this reading. I was really happy with Rich DiStasio's response, where he explains the page view imperative. I think the idea about blogs being meant to be sold is a really important idea for understanding the economics of the internet. Not everybody completely got the concept of trading up the chain, so you'll want to read that section carefully. But lots of you did. There's one really great response. I'm going to scroll down to it here. Okay, so the shocking story that who is this that who talked about this? Quinna talked about a great shocking story around Politico, right? The Political blog that decided to focus on this one character, this one politician, Tim Pawlenty, and basically the way that posting a scandal and basically bad news, gossip about a candidate can be a device to increase the blog circulation. We saw that all over the place, not just in the last election, but in the last 2 election cycles. So people have really recognized that, like, saying bad things about gossiping about a political candidate is good business, right, for a blogger. So that, I thought that was a really important story. There's one really interesting idea about Ryan Holiday calls everything a blog, right? He says, whatever it is on the internet, I'm going to call it all a blog. And I think there's something really interesting about that, because actually we don't have yet, imagine that, the internet is like 40 years old and we don't really have good language for the different genres or types of web content that's out there, right? And that's true for all of the web. We don't have good genre labels really for YouTube yet, although you might know what a vlog is, right? And you might know what the conventions of a movie review video, but the genres for web content are still evolving. And that's really because social media is so new. One of the reasons why that creates a problem is that genres exist to kind of shape viewers' expectations. If I'm reading a book of poetry, I kind of know what to expect. If I'm reading nonfiction, I know it's probably true, right? If I'm reading fiction, I know it's true. If I'm reading a mystery, I know what the story is going to be like. But in the web world, we don't have clear labels for content, and we can't often clearly identify what is this, right? Even at the level of, is its purpose to inform, to entertain, or to persuade? So genre, the lack of genres is why Ryan Holiday says everything, let's just call everything a blog. And it also creates some interpretation challenges, right, for the reader, right, or the viewer, right? It's what we all complained about when we saw fake news come on our Facebook page, right? Facebook decontextualized the content. We weren't sure where this was coming from. We couldn't tell. Was it from The Onion? Was it a piece of comedy news, or was it real news, right? What was it? We couldn't tell. And so that problem, I think Holiday recognized, and we feel like in some ways why propaganda is so easy online is the lack of genre familiarity, established genre conventions for social media. So there was something down at the bottom here that I thought was really kind of interesting. Oh yeah, Caitlin Mendonca, you get the A for the day on this particular question. I asked in this section, why do you, given what a slimeball Ryan Holiday is, do you trust him? Is he believable? Do you believe he's telling the truth? And Caitlin's answer was so spot on, I just think it was really important to reflect on. She says, despite the deceiving title of his book, I do believe Ryan Holiday is trustworthy in his description of his work in public relations. He's very forthcoming about his work and his more controversial projects. He's had quite a bit of experience, and he simply wrote the book to share some of the negative things that you might see in public relations. He's so open about controversies, and by sharing them, he's opened himself up to the criticism of the public on his work and his chosen profession. Because of this, I would like to believe that I can trust what he's telling us. I think that's a really insightful comment, and I also want to point out that your perspective on that may change in the second half of the book, all right? So keep yourself open to be asking yourself, is he trustworthy, right? Do you believe him? because if he blew your mind in the first half of the book, he's going to blow your mind in the second half of the book, right? That's really just what happens. Okay, so I was really pretty pleased with that, and I was even more pleased with the great work that you guys did on the Flipgrid dialogue. Oh, so brilliant. In fact, I actually took pretty careful notes on this and really was just thrilled to appreciate your great comments and ideas. One thing that's for sure the case is that many of you were kind of attracted to the character of Hitler. Others of you liked Fabian, the goofy reporter. Some of you liked the goth girlfriend. So you all had different favorite characters, and you all picked out some really interesting moments in the film that grabbed your attention or that startled you. So I don't know, I didn't bring them over here to where I'm sitting now. I have some kind of notes on who said what exactly, but I'll tell you, I did make some comments on some of these. So you can, if you look at one example, for example, Matt, we're going to call you out here.
So I think a scene that was interesting was when the reporter met, Adolf and set off to do the interviews about the politics. The first woman they interviewed was at a little market, and they're getting food. And Adolf asked, "Do you have the feeling you have a say in democracy?" And she responds back with, "No, honestly, I don't vote out of principle." And she goes on to say that the elections are manipulated and nothing changes. I think that this shows that government is somewhat controlled behind almost like a curtain, like on a string, like puppets. That's basically what's going on. And it kind of ties into how I think Adolf was a very interesting character, because he wanted to see what people thought about democracy and the government and how he can make it better. But ironically, he controlled them at one point. So now he's actually going on the opposite way and figuring out what people think about democracy and how they can make it better, if there is any way to make it better.
I really, really like that answer, and you can see how I responded. Matt, this is a really great scene, and I'm really glad you identified it. Clearly the public frustration that, like you said, the stuff happens, that stuff is happening behind the scenes, and that we don't really have a democracy. That frustration is really an exploitable fear, right? And although it looks like Hitler's trying to help, what he's really doing is he is really tapping into people's frustration about democracy and using it for his own dictatorial purposes. Right. So, Matt, I really loved that comment. I was absolutely intrigued at several of you who talked about the ending of the film. Right? This is a comedy film. It's a fiction. You laugh all the way through it, but then you get to the end of the film, right? And at the end of the film, the filmmaker cuts to documentary footage of anti-immigrant rallies in Germany that look pretty dark, that look pretty violent, that look pretty angry. And because of the juxtaposition, you've just had this kind of ha-ha, funny comedy, and now at the end of the film you cut to the real politics in Germany right now, which is really anti-immigrant and racist. You can't help but get chills thinking, oh my God, could this happen again? So I was really glad that several of you talked about that. Also, there's a really great set of commentary. I want to think that it's Meredith, I want to think it was your comment about at the end when Fabian goes crazy and is locked up in the mental hospital. You say something like, when you finally figure out how propaganda works, people might think you're crazy, because you finally see it for what it is. And of course, that's what happens in the film. And I thought that was an interesting interpretation of that scene. It certainly gives us a lot of sympathy for Fabian to see that he's the only one who understands what's happening now that Hitler is, re-establishing his rise to power. One of the things I thought was interesting that so far I haven't seen everyone's post, because I looked at them at about 1:00 today, and I can see some people have posted since then, right? But so far nobody's talked about the two most freaky scenes. Of course, the scene where Hitler shoots the dog. I mean, that in itself is an amazing scene and scary testament to like what we put up with and what we won't put up with. And especially, Matthew, in relation to your point about the whole animal cruelty thing, right? Right. The one thing the Germans will not tolerate is cruelty to a dog, right? You can kill the Jews, fine, but don't shoot a dog. So that scene is really startling. And then the consequences of what happens, right, when that scene is videotaped and played before a mass audience, and how they turn on Hitler, at least for a while. And then another scene that nobody talked about that I thought was really powerful was, so this whole thing gets to be such a big media phenomenon that they make a high budget movie of Hitler's rise to his second career, so to speak. And we see them on the set with actors playing the people that we met as characters. And that provides the filmmaker with an opportunity to be very meta, to make kind of a commentary about how Hollywood, how media takes reality and tweaks it and packages it into something palatable. It's not reality, but we see that happening in the film. And I think that's a really important piece of the story, part of the genius of this piece of film, and part of the reason why this film will be talked about for years to come, decades to come, in relation to what its insights are about social media, about propaganda, about culture, about how it works. So I do encourage you, if you haven't had a chance yet to see the film, please check it out and take a look at the comments of your peers. I was really, really proud. I guess I'm going to say this with my stop share off. I was really proud of the quality of the Flipgrid response. In general, you made you answered the questions with a great oral performance skills, and you responded really authentically to your peers. So in general, I think you guys immediately glommed to the idea of how Flipgrid allows us to have a dialogue around a seminar room, even though we're not taking the class at the same time, and not completing the activities in the same space. So I was super happy with that. So thanks so much for that. Okay, so now it's time to,
We still have the opportunity to add to the Flipgrid before tonight, right?
You still do. Absolutely. And don't miss that film because it's so awesome. So, Olivia and Matthew, let's just talk through, at least as much as you can, the answer to this question, because you have been using social media for your whole life practically. And now that you're reading and thinking about propaganda, what specific features of social media make it a powerful tool for propaganda? Why is social media so perfect for propaganda? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's so perfect social media is so perfect for propaganda because of how integrated the system is with how we view products. We live in such a consumeristic society. So all right, for example, I was looking at Nike shoes the other day. Guess what pops up in my phone while I'm scrolling down? Literally the same exact shoes I was literally looking at on the internet. So it's just so integrated and just towards what you look at, and caters towards your past histories and whatnot. So it's just so in your face about it, and it's less discreet. You're muted.
it's thanks for sharing that, Matthew. That's a really key idea about how the fact that big data is used to customize the propaganda that you receive means that you perceive it as really relevant to your life, right? And like you said, it follows you around, right? And that is different than in the old mass media era where ads were perceived as intrusive and messages didn't relate to you and they might be jarring to your existing belief system. Today, mostly people experience the filter bubble, right? Where the messages they get are all kind of reinforcing existing worldview. So that's one factor why social media is such an effective tool for propaganda. What's another reason, factor or element for what specific features of social media make it powerful for propaganda? Olivia?
Because you can share ideas with all of your followers and your friends, and it kind of creates this bubble for you. Like, people are going to follow you with the same ideas. And also, if you're scrolling through Instagram, they're gonna have ads, so they can just sneak in a whole bunch of different ads. Like what Matthew was saying about the shoes. If you're looking at something online, they can sneak more of that in on your Instagram feed, or they can sneak more like arbitrary things like politics in there too.
Really good point. One of the things that's so fascinating about, visual propaganda, you mentioned Instagram, right? Mm-hmm. Is that, we process visuals really differently than we process words, right? And so we're not, as we're scrolling down the Instagram, like you said, they can sneak it in, right? Yeah, because sponsored content on Instagram isn't always so obvious, right? And as you're scrolling, you're not asking, gee, who made this and what was their purpose and what are they trying to communicate to you? You're just having a sensory experience of pleasure. You're feeling feelings that the images create. And so that's partly why images have always been a powerful tool of propaganda. And now with the new ways that social media relies on images to communicate, it can be really effective. One of the things that, of course, I'm really fascinated is with the use of memes, right? So memes are a really important form of propaganda online because, like you said, Olivia, you share them with your social network, so they spread from your own credibility. Most people tend to believe the people in their social circle, right? Those people are credible to us. So when our friends share propaganda, that propaganda has higher status, right? And it's perceived as more believable. And memes are also really customizable, right? So you might share a meme somebody else created, but you might tweak it and create a different one and share it yourself, right? So memes kind of allow propaganda messages to be adapted to the specific needs of the audience. And you know what? That's what, hold on here. That's what Eddie Bernays told us. That's what Eddie Bernays told us works the best, right? Was when propaganda was, closely linked to the needs of the audience. So, so for those of you who are watching this as a recording, that's what I'm going to ask you to do after viewing. I'm going to ask you to use the, oh dear, what is going on with my electricity? Ah! That's craziness. So after you watch this video, I'd like you to use the leave a reply function. And I want you to answer the question, what specific features of social media make it a powerful tool for propaganda? I want you to read the other replies and do not duplicate. There's at least 36 reasons or specific features to how social media is used for propaganda. So let's see if you can carry that discussion forward. Okay, so now it's time to talk a little bit about what's coming up for next week. Of course, the most important thing is the Leap 2 assignment. But let's go to the activities to be completed before next Wednesday, February 21st at 4 p.m. Next week, our topic is the unexpected consequences. The unexpected consequences of promotion and marketing propaganda, right? So we're reading the second half of Trust Me, I'm Lying, and we're thinking a little bit more of the positive and the negative unexpected consequences of promotion and marketing propaganda. Let's take a look at what I'd like you to do. So social media is a powerful tool for propaganda because illusions of all sorts can be created and sustained. Learn about the unanticipated consequences of propaganda that cannot be controlled. So we're reading Trust Me, I'm Lying, but instead of holding your hand like I did last week by giving you a set of questions to read and respond to, I'm going to ask you to figure out the key ideas of certain key chapters on your own. Here's what I'd like you to do. After reading part 2 of Ryan Holiday's book, compose a 2-minute oral comment to summarize and comment on ideas introduced in the chapters you've been assigned from Ryan Holiday's book, Trust Me, I'm Lying, part 2. Be sure to listen to and respond to at least 2 other students as we engage in asynchronous dialogue about the unexpected consequences of marketing propaganda. So Jessica, Rich, Michaela, Matt, Meredith, and Michaela V. I want you to read chapters 13 through 15, which have really provocative titles. So I'm just going to share with you, like, oh my God. 13 through 15. Iron Carmen, The Daily Show, and Me, the perfect storm of how toxic blogging came to be. Chapter 14, There Are Others, The Manipulator Hall of Fame. Chapter 15, Cute but Evil. Online entertainment tactics that drug you and me. Wow, those are 3 good chapters. So Jaleel, Madison, Patrick, Jonna, Lauren, and Brittany, I want you to read chapters 16, 17, and 18. Chapter 16, The Link Economy, The Leveraged Illusion of Sourcing. Chapter 17, Extortion via the Web, Facing the Online Shakedown. And chapter 18, The Iterative Hustle, Online Journalism's Bogus Philosophy. Really a great set of chapters there. And then Keith, Matt, Kelsey, Caitlin, Jordan, Olivia, and Alexa, I want you to read chapters 19, 20, and 21. That's The Myth of Corrections, Cheering on Our Own Deception, and The Dark Side of Snark, When Internet Humor Attacks. Wow. And then chapters 22, 23, and 24, 20th Century Degradation Ceremony, Blogs as Machines of Hatred and Punishment. Chapter 23, Welcome to Unreality. And chapter 24, How to Read a Blog, an update on account of all the lies. Okay? So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be reading your 3 chapters. You're going to be making a speech outline because you have to make a 2-minute speech. You have to summarize, analyze, and comment. And then remember how you make a flip grid, right? You click on the big red button, up comes the camera, you press the red button to start, and you'll have 2 minutes, right? So here, I'm expecting you to find the big ideas. And if you think about it, in a way, you're summarizing, analyzing, and critiquing all in that 2 minutes. Now, let's see, Olivia or Matt, do you have any questions about this activity?
No.
Okay, good to know. All right, so that's big project number 1. We're steaming through. A big part of that idea is for you to benefit from the careful reading and observation of your peers, right? That's why I'm asking you to be sure to listen to and respond to at least 2 other students as we engage in asynchronous dialogue, right? So you can ask people questions, you can comment, you can make a connection between what you read about in your chapter and what somebody else found in their chapter. That'll make this really, really exciting. And we're gonna learn a lot, I think, from this. Okay, so that's the part, you know, sometimes this path right drives me crazy, right? So, okay, I'm back to this section. That's worth 12 points, that's a big deal. What I'd like you to do is, in a digital learning environment, we say that everyone learns from everyone. This means you can learn a lot by reading and commenting on the work of your peers. So for 5 points as homework activity, select 2 LEAP 1 essays from other students who are taking this course. You can find those on the roster there, the class roster. After reading their essay, offer some warm feedback and commentary by composing a tweet using the COM416 hashtag. What did you like about the work? What did you learn? You guys are all growing up in the same media environment, more or less, but you're going to see really interesting differences. Huge differences between men and women, of course. Huge differences between people of different ages. And huge differences of people of different interests, right? People with different interests in music, and different interests in sports, different interests in culture, celebrity, and everything. So as you look, it's worth thinking about, right? How our choices as media consumers influence the kind of propaganda we get exposed to, right? And the differences that exist between us. So cool. Okay, so that's a small project. I do want you to study the poster, Beyond Fake News. I've shown this to you before, but I want to make sure that you're really comfortable with these. Oh, I don't know if you can see that. I'm not sure if you can see that. And that's not really coming up right. I'm just not gonna show that to you now, but click on the graphic there, and there'll be the fake news poster. I wanna make sure that you're able to use those terms and concepts. So I want you to make sure that you are familiar, make sure you're able to define all the terms that you incorporate. That's gonna be important for your LEAP 2 assignment. So let's talk about that. Oh, wait, before we get to the LEAP 2 assignment, let's talk about Logan Paul. Give me a thumbs up if you've heard about the Logan Paul controversy. Olivia, Matthew, of course you have. Matthew, can you describe us briefly, what is the Logan Paul controversy? Best you understand it.
So basically, this guy's like a YouTube vlogger, and he created like a controversial like video when he went to Japan on a trip. And he went to like some like suicide forest thing where he posted he took a video of like some guy hanging in the tree, and it was like a big controversy, not only because of that, because he went over there and like kind of mocked everyone in Japan and made like a mockery of the culture. And so like basically everyone went on Twitter and other social media sites to like kind of bash on him a little bit.
Yeah, wow, great summary. Thank you so much. So what we're going to do is we're not going to watch the Logan Paul video. We're going to watch a piece of media about the Logan Paul video. So it's a piece of media content, and we're going to use that video rant to comment on it. You guys remember, I think we used this once before this semester. You play the video a little bit.
CEO of YouTube, she's explaining her decision to keep the controversial star Logan Paul on YouTube, despite a series of troubling videos posted for his millions of young followers.
Okay, so basically you click this little button here, and a comment bar opens, and basically the theme of this 3-minute segment is the CEO of YouTube. He kind of defends Logan Paul. Wow. Okay, so that's kind of interesting, and of course we want to listen carefully to what her defense is, right?
Out at a conference in California.
Okay, so one thing I would like you to do. Let me go back here. So what I'm going to ask you to do is make a comment on that video, but if you can, use the information that you learn from this really interesting article in Adweek, right? Adweek is where I stay current on the advertising, marketing, branding business. Really interesting, a different perspective on why YouTube drops Logan Paul from the Google preferred ad platform. So you're going to be watching that video carefully, commenting on the issue, using the video platform. If you can make a connection between this topic and Ryan Holiday, I am going to be a very, very, very happy camper, right? That's what we're thinking about. We're trying to make connections between what we're reading, what we're learning, and what's happening in the world. Okay, so finally, the most important thing that I'm introducing to you to tonight is the next big LEAP project. Hopefully you'll come to the synchronous class because it's a great way to get 5 points. But here's what is coming up next. LEAP 2, it's due March 7th. It's called Critical Analysis of Propaganda. It's worth 100 points. So in this assignment, you find a piece of contemporary propaganda from the Mind Over Media website, or you upload your own example to the Mind Over Media website, and then compose a vlog or screencast to demonstrate your ability to critically analyze it. So select an example of propaganda. You can upload an example to the website, or you can choose from among the 1,000 examples that are already there. Develop an informative critical analysis of the example you've selected and create a vlog or screencast no more than 5 minutes in length where you critically analyze this piece of propaganda by answering the questions below. There's the 10 questions. Who's the author and what's the author's purpose? Who's the target audience? What techniques are used to attract and hold your attention? How does this propaganda activate strong emotions, simplify ideas, respond to audience needs, and attack opponents? What lifestyles, values, and points of view are presented? What action or attitudes in this propaganda, what actions or attitudes or actions is this propaganda aiming to affect? How might different people interpret this message differently? What's the political, economic, or cultural context in which this message circulates? What's omitted from the propaganda that, if known, might affect people's interpretation of the message? And what might be some unintended consequences of this propaganda? So in order for you to do LEAP 2, you're going to have to gain some new knowledge and gather evidence to support your ideas. So your target audience is going to be college-educated adults with an interest in contemporary propaganda. To complete this assignment, you must gather relevant, high-quality research and information sources as you analyze. You're going to need some background information about the propaganda that you analyze, right? You'll probably want to prepare a script and visual materials to learn more about the genre of the vlog or screencast and get ideas about how to create compelling academic content. So I've given you some ideas about how to do that. You might want to read my chapter 4 on critically analyzing media. You might want to read my chapter 11 on creating vlogs and screencasts. I just wrote this new book called Create to Learn. This is a activity that's pretty carefully described there. So I've given you those chapters to give you some background information. You might also benefit from, if you haven't made a vlog or screencast before, you might watch this tutorial. It's a super easy, free online tool called Screencast-O-Matic. It's so easy, even a 5-year-old can do it. It's not that hard, but that tutorial will give you a way to do it. Now, when you record your screencast, you might want to make a test recording so you can check the quality of your sound. You might want to use the pause function to move through the recording process so you don't have to do it all completely perfect, right, in one go. You can use any screencast tool you want, like QuickTime, or there's a million of them online, but you do have to upload it to YouTube. And since URI has disabled YouTube, you probably should use a non-URI Gmail account, right? Because if you try to use every Gmail account has a YouTube account attached to it, except URI has disabled students' ability to do that. So you have to use a non-URI Gmail account, right? You're going to share that screencast on your LEAP 2 page with a headline and a subhead and with a paragraph or two of key ideas. And then, of course, you're going to create a works cited list on your blog that shows me what research you did for your screencast, right? And you'll put that in APA format. And here's the criteria that I'm going to use to evaluate this. I am expecting that it be well produced with good sound and image quality. I am expecting a works cited list. This is an academic screencast, and you will be inspired by some of the students in the previous semesters who have made kick-ass screencasts, including Nikita, who did a critical analysis of Back to the Farm Chipotle, Tori, who did a critical analysis of Halftime in America, and Matt, who did a critical analysis of Trump and the Russia connection, right? So in a way, if you think about it, between now and you have about 3 weeks to do this. And I guess I just want to say, it's kind of obvious, right? You can't produce a screencast in a day. Can't be done. I mean, it could be done, but not a really good one, right? So the production process of moving through, finding the screencast, conducting the research, writing the script, practicing, producing, and uploading, give yourself some time. That's all I can say. Because I was kind of lenient with the deadline this first time around. We're just getting to know each other. I'm really appreciative of how hard students are working. Not going to be so flexible with the deadline for this Leap 2, in part because you have 3 weeks and it's a fun project. Now, give me a thumbs up if you've produced a vlog or a screencast before. Awesome! Okay, so Matthew, can you tell us a little bit about what your experience has been?
So like vlogging, I don't know, I haven't really done like a screencast, but I've done like vlogging before. And so like I'll use like my GoPro or my other camera, and like I'll go out and like if I have a date with my friends or something, like I'm going like cliff jumping or something like that. I'll take a bunch of videos, and then I'll go back home, plug into my computer. I'll do a little production, cut it up a little bit, add some like audio to it, like some music and whatnot. But yeah.
Woohoo! Okay, so you have on the professional amateur spectrum, you're kind of up.
More amateur. I want to say professional.
I don't know. It sounded a little bit on the professional side to me. Now, Olivia, have you had any experience making a vlog or a screencast?
You're muted.
Let me okay, now it's working. Sorry, okay. I couldn't get it unmuted. No, I don't have any experience with that.
So does that mean that you are a YouTube virgin and this will be your first publication to YouTube?
Yeah.
Woohoo! Oh yeah, baby. I personally don't think that any student, I mean, I have a bias, right? Obviously, you know my bias by now, right? I don't think any student of the 15,000 students at URI, I don't think any student should graduate college without having had the experience of producing YouTube. Now, why would I say that?
Of reducing YouTube?
I think every student at URI should produce
a
YouTube video. Why?
I really don't know how to answer that question. I'm not sure.
Think about it. A pharmacy major, an engineering student, a business student, a communication student.
Well, yeah, I guess like
why should they learn to produce YouTubes? How could it be important for them to learn how to do that?
To reach like the masses, like to convey your message across to people.
Yeah, because people really don't like they don't read anymore. Like they don't. It's not like they don't read anymore, but like if you see a video compared to like seeing a big article that you have to read, like what would you rather do? I feel like most people would rather just like watch the 5-minute video or however long it is and just get it over with, opposed to like watching or having to read through something. Plus, you get like the watching a video, you get like infographics and a bunch of other cool stuff that they add. So I feel like it's more informative and it's more like interactive.
Okay, well, you kind of nailed it. I think actually to be an effective communicator in any field or profession, one has to be able to use the dominant media of the culture And right now, YouTube is
video,
on
yeah.
strict ascendancy to becoming the dominant media of the culture. 400 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube every minute. 80% of all of the views on YouTube happen outside of North America, right?
Wow, really?
Okay.
8%, wow.
If you want to make a difference in the world, YouTube is a really important, here's how I think of it. It's like a pen, right? You wouldn't let a kid graduate from college if they didn't know how to write a sentence. We shouldn't let kids out of college unless they learn how to produce YouTube. So I am thrilled to have Matthew, an experienced media maker, Olivia, a beginner. Don't freak out about that. No matter where you are on your learning curve, you can make something that you can be proud of. And yes, there'll be a difference between students who are more experienced and students who are less experienced. That's cool. But I absolutely am thrilled to support your learning curve through this process. And so you guys know that the best way to reach me if you have any questions about Leap 2 is on Twitter, right? Because I'm addicted. And if you tweet me a question, I'm going to answer right away.
Same here, same.
All
Love
right.
Twitter.
So let's see. I think we've gotten to the end of the hour. We've reviewed everything that's coming up next. Next week, our class is scheduled for Wednesday, February 21st. I will look forward to seeing you. Olivia and Matthew, you guys get total kudos. That means great praise.
Thank you so much.
Because otherwise I'd be bored to death. So joining me tonight, all right?
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
My pleasure. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.